Speaking of money, you also have an opinion about state lands. You had a piece in the Advertiser, and you said now is the time to take inventory. We got a short budget. Let's sell off a few select pieces of property. You want to review that, and then I want to respond or give you what Chris Lee said in response to your response, and then you can rebut that.
Sure. You know, I'm a business lawyer, and I talk to real estate guys, and I found that in California, for example, there are real estate companies in California that are packaging portfolios, which include state land. So they get investment money and they buy state land and they make a portfolio and they develop the land or otherwise make it productive. And California sells the land. A lot of other states sell land. Lots of other states on the mainland sell land. And they do this to raise money. They do this because they recognize they don't really need the land. In the 21st century, states do not need land. If states need land, they can condemn land and they can always get land. So holding on to it for old time's sake is not a viable, reason. So, I thought because of this phenomenon that I heard about on the mainland that this would be a great idea for Hawaii. Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, and it goes way back to the monarchy, holds an enormous amount of land. Some of it is sacrosanct. You don't touch land that has cultural value. You don't touch ceded land. You don't touch agricultural land, all that. But there is land that is in none of those categories and is lying fallow and could be sold for money. And there's two benefits. One is the state gets lots of money if it does this right through commissioned sales, like any other sale of land, using the private apparatus on that. And the other thing, besides state getting money, you have more land in the marketplace, and maybe that helps moderate the marketplace, because the marketplace has too many people too seeking too little land, and it raises the price beyond where we can afford it. And this creates an economic problem. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes, you remind me how 90% of the land is basically tied up with a handful of owners and individuals and government, and 10% is what you and me and the guy in the street is able to buy and sell, and the price keeps going up, up, and up.
And this is an effect on us.
So selling off some land obviously would be an option of getting money, and for the point of disclosure, I should say fully that in our minority balanced budget proposal, we sold off, number one, Kamamalu building. You remember where D-Bed used to be located at the corner of King and Richards?
You mean you want to?
We want to sell that off.
You should, absolutely.
It's empty.
And it's going to need a lot of work, which we don't have the money to fix. Let a private contractor do that.
Go in and that become part of the discount from the sale. Secondly, there's a feedlot in Campbell Industrial Park, right on the waterfront. I mean, we put those two sales in. There was another property whose name escapes me, but those assets that are leverageable, I mean, it's what the families do when they run out of money. They either sell an extra car or some jewelry or do something to make the cash flow a little bit more healthy.
Good for you.
But however, one of my colleagues by the name of Chris Lee said, if you sell state land, it's gone forever. That is something you can't reverse. Now, is that an argument? Did you respond to Chris? Did you call him up, or did you arm wrestle him or anything? Or?
He sent me a note before he wrote that article, before he
That's a nice
published
courtesy.
it. He's a very nice man. And he told me it was coming, that I should be on the lookout.
Okay, be on the lookout.
He was going to mention my name, so okay, that's fine. Just spell it right. He's a very nice man, but I say.
But you disagree with him?
I disagree with him. What is it? Never get it again? Do you need it?
I mean,
why do you want to hold on to it?
When you buy it, you can resell it, then you can sell it back and buy it back in a number of fashions.
We agree on this.
Okay, so there was no big flare-up about what may or may not result from your action versus his action, because I think the ceded land is and his district is Waimanalo. There's a number of ceded lands, a number of the Hawaiian cultural concerns there, etc.
Yeah, he didn't really, handle the individual points I made in my article, and he said he wasn't going to do that. But he made his statement, which is the land is sacrosanct and the state should not give it up. So we just have a structural disagreement about that. At the end of the day, I would do this as a regular matter. I think the state has too much land, and I think the private sector has too little land, and we have to have a kind of mahele here. And the way to do it is to equalize that, at least equalize it. Right now, I think our economy is being stalled by the unavailability of land in the system, and this could help. And it's really important that we reform land in the state of Hawaii if we're going to go forward with an economy that treats everybody equally. There are too many people who aren't making it, And our condition, our economic condition right now is not necessarily short term. We can't afford to have everybody on the beach like this. We have got to equalize and democratize our land holding.
In the labor force, what percentage have high-tech jobs? Have we actually registered where we got a percentile of workers that are doing high-tech? Has it reached the threshold where we can say 2%, 3%?
Well, the Science and Technology Council did some pretty sophisticated measuring 2 years ago about that. And I don't remember the numbers, but it was more than you would have expected.
It's on the map.
It's on the map.
And Jay, as of a few weeks ago, the governor signed an agreement, first agreement in the United States with NASA. NASA is very keen on a resettlement on the Big Island, or at least a permanent settlement where they can simulate life on Mars or the Moon, and the notion of sending breadbox type satellites and having the research done at the University of Hawaii. That is high tech, made for Hawaii as far as I'm concerned. That's something that, are you into any of these aerospace? There's an Office of Aerospace Development in DPED.
No, but I think they should be part of the fabric of our tech industry. There are many, many ideas and thoughts like that, and there ought to be some leadership on that to encourage everybody to go into that. So I would certainly endorse the satellite program you're talking about.
Would you recommend the next governor create an Office of Technology and have a czar, somebody like yourself, to orchestrate that? I'm not pushing an issue, but
I just live here, But the answer is yes. I think the governor should be surrounded with tech people. She should have access to tech people who have the public interest in mind, and where she can get some real, he or she can get some real leadership, real support for real leadership. We missed that in this administration.
I got time for one more question, and that is, how would you splice high-tech onto the way government does business now? High-tech and governance, where do you see some areas where we could really help streamline government?
That's a great question. I want to say that you are always so prepared, and you have such great things
you can see my script.
I know you have a lot. And
read a lot about you before I even got on the air.
Mark of a great moderator, Gene. I really appreciate it. Well, I think the governor ought to have a CIO, that is a Chief Information Officer or a Chief Technology Officer, who runs that within the government. Right now, all these agencies are silos. They have different systems, different software. They don't talk to each other. It's really not acceptable. And what we need to do is spend some money again, but we get a huge payback by having the government on the same page with the same computer systems, talking the same language. It will be like nirvana compared to the way it is now.
And that's notwithstanding what we hear is the rumor that the DOE still has 3x5 cards by which their personnel records are being recorded.
No surprise to me.
That is unacceptable in the way to do business. Jay, we're just about right out of time. Any final comments?
Yes, transportation. I worry about transportation. Not necessarily the policy of it, but the world view of it. We are an isolated place. We can't afford to be isolated anymore. We have to bring tourists in. We have to bring tourists in from China. We have to reinvent our transportation so we can reinvent the primary energy, primary engine of our economy, to say nothing about technology. We need to look at our transportation so that everybody can get around in the state, and it's not happening. I only want to say that I am very impressed with Billy Kenoi, the Big Island. He has a bus system there that takes people anywhere they want to go, all over the Big Island, trips of hundreds of miles for free. And that, to me, symbolizes the essence of Hawaii: kindness, care, and concern.
And getting where you want to go.
And getting where you want to go.
We've got to sign off. That's a word from Jay Fidel and a word from Gene Ward. Thank you for viewing. Aloha.